Hello, and welcome to Voices in Education. I am your host, Natasha Lee. Hello, and welcome to another live. Yes, welcome. Please comment in the live chat. Let me know that you're here. Remember to hit the like button, the share button, and of course, the subscription button. And if you have not yet turned on your post notification, please take a moment to tap that, bell and select all so that you do not miss any updates from this channel. Voices in Education is a safe space where we can share and learn from each other. We do that in a respectful way to ensure that we're maintaining our safe community where everyone feels a sense of belonging, where you feel valued. All right. So, welcome. And for this conversation, we'll be talking about Elaine Thompson-Herah and Shanikie Osbourne, so that's split, and in the context of who made the mistake. And so I am also joined by Rurian for this conversation. Hello to you, Rurian. I hope you're hearing me. Hello, Rurian. At some point, Rurian.
Hello, are you
Hello?
hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So talk to us, Ruben. Are you expecting a very vibrant conversation this evening? Are you willing and ready to share and, to just talk about, Elaine and Shanikie?
Well, I'm expecting a vibrant conversation, and I'll add my few, words to this as well, just to, give my perspective on the whole matter.
Absolutely, guys. You're in the chat. Please let me know if you're hearing Rurian very well, because you sound a bit low on my end. So I'm not too sure, but persons in the chat, please let us know if you're hearing Rurian. And so Rurian, you'll come in
Yes.
at point there. So I'll just check in back with you, Rurian.
No worries.
All right. So as you heard it, guys, we'll be talking and I'll be joined by, Ruren, and we'll be talking about, this, split and in the context of, who made the mistake. And absolutely, we encourage you to be part of this conversation as well. And again, this space is not about bashing anyone, but we apply, like a critical analysis, just ask some critical questions based on the information that we have. So it's not a space to bring in personal, affairs or business. We're just looking at what is there in the public domain in the context of this situation, what is happening, and really looking forward to Paris 2024 because, I know that we all want to see our Jamaican athletes doing their best. We know, what is at stake right now for Elaine. Elaine has done something that I guess no other athlete has done. And so this Olympic Games coming up is another opportunity for her to really stamp her mark on this, sport. And so we are here and just looking at some, context. So in our last conversation, we talk about the split in the context of looking at both sides, right? I had promised to come back on Friday, but that didn't work out. So I'm here now to just follow up on, additional information. And so that we can apply, again, some critical, analysis, ask some critical questions to find out, who perhaps made a mistake here. Perhaps it was a mistake, and, we'll talk further about that. But just to give you an overview of what is happening if you're unfamiliar with this context. So I guess sometimes early in the week, news broke that, there was a split between Elaine and Shanikie. And then a lot of persons ran with that. I guess they added their voice to it, and some context that was shared was not necessarily the way things were, or the way things, happened based on, on our understanding. And we see where some persons, are coming back to the space to apologize. And so again, I say to us, sometimes it's not about that viral hit, but it's also being responsible in terms of, our platform and sharing. So again, it's voices in education. It's not just my voice, it's our voices, and, just learning from this space. So we heard about the split, and at one point, based on what was in the public domain, we heard that, Darren, so Elaine's husband, he had something to do with not wanting to pay. And so that was there in the space. And then Elaine's management, they placed, they put out a media release. And in that media release, we went through and we critically analyzed that. So again, this is just a little summary. I guess they acknowledge, Shanikie's impact in the context of Elaine, based on, where she was coming from the national, championships there in Jamaica, and getting to a place at 10-7-9. So we saw that, and that was pretty much quick in terms of Elaine improving, getting back into form. As you perhaps know by now, that arrangement between Elaine and Shanikie was a temporary arrangement. So at the time, Elaine was saying, okay, we'll see how this goes. And, if the relationship, I guess, is okay, we will move forward together. So I guess Elaine was somewhat comfortable with what she was seeing, what she was getting in the context of Shanikie's expertise, right? So at some point, can't say specifically when, the two decided that they were going to move forward. But then in the context of going forward, the financial arrangement was brought, into this picture. So we need to move forward. We need to sort out our finances going forward. So my understanding is that, given the fact that Elaine has had a contract in place without the help of Shanikie. So Shanikie was not there, when that contract was negotiated with Puma. And so as a matter of fact, based on what is out there in the public domain, that contract was negotiated without a coach. All right. So Elaine negotiated that contract without a coach. All right. Soon I'll get to the cause. And so in the context of, Elaine negotiating that contract without a coach, I am of the view now that based on that, those contractual terms or agreements, there is this big confidentiality clause. This information cannot be disclosed. Also, in just, trying to understand the sporting business, because this is not my area of expertise. So let me just put that out there, and just, trying to listen and read and, hear from persons who are aligned with that professional domain. Usually if a coach is aligned with the contract in terms of negotiating that with Puma, it's an understanding that, okay, the coach perhaps, the coach had obviously a significant impact in terms of bringing this athlete to this particular level. So, so the coach, I guess, would get 10 to 15% of whatever is negotiated there. All right. So that's just my understanding, just my understanding. So let me just emphasize that. All right, so with Elaine now and Shanikie, it came to a point where Shanikie was saying, okay, I want 15%. And my understanding is that you cannot get 15%. So that's what the Elaine's camp was saying, our team was saying, we cannot give you 15% because of the confidentiality clause. And if you go back to our last live, you will hear, us just analyzing and breaking that down. And so Shanikie was saying, I don't need to know the details. And I'm like, how are you going to know if you're getting 15% anyways? All right, moving forward from that, just because I just explained that, if it is that as a coach, you were there when that deal, was negotiated, then that's where the 10 to 15% would come in based on my understanding. So because Shanikie was not a part of that, then, it was this, understanding moving forward that, okay, we need a figure to work with. So Shanikie was of the impression that Elaine had agreed to the 15%. But again, if you go back to the last live that we talked about, Elaine, to me, was questioning the 15% based on the fact, and this information came from Shanikie. Shanikie said in her, I guess, report to Sportsmax that, our interview to Sportsmax, that, okay, Elaine asked about, it's my equipment, my facility, do I still need to pay 15%? So again, for me, just critically analyzing that, to me, is an indication that she was not willing to pay the 15% if she's going to question the fact that all you're bringing is your expertise. It's my location, my facility, my equipment. So it's the expertise, right? All right. So in the context of that, I get to understand, and Ruren is your listener and will join in, that, Elaine's camp, I guess, Darren, they made an offer to Shanikie in the context of about 40,000 US dollars, I believe, Ruren, and I stand corrected there. And with higher bonuses, I believe the bonus was like 20%. So moving forward, she would have gotten 20% plus the base. All right. So at some point in this negotiation, I think his name is Damer Russell, he came in. So he was the initial point of contact in terms of making the connection between Elaine and Shanikie right after that, what you perhaps would describe as a poor performance at the national championship. So I figured that Shanikie, right, had some confidence, some trust in Mr. Russell in terms of saying, okay, you're going to be my agent, negotiate this, put out a figure. All right, so based on that, in terms of the negotiation, Shanikie, in the context of Mr. Russell, they sent back a figure to say that they wanted 100 million Jamaican dollars. And I guess that would have been the base plus, I guess, bonuses. And so in that context, and based on information that, we have heard so far, that would have been so far outside, so far outside of what would have been the norm. Because at this point, we are hearing terms like ridiculous or, that kind of, context there. And so we are here just asking the question, who made the mistake? Was it a case, and this was something that, Ruren and we were discussing, I was like, because when that figure came over, Darren said, is this like incorrect? Are you sure? Is this figure right? Because I guess he was thinking perhaps there was an additional zero. And so I was wondering, is it a case where they wanted to say like 10 million and, they mistakenly, 100 million? But then there is also a counter argument that Rurian provided to say, hey, the mere fact that they're considering Puma in the context of, what the contract perhaps in their mind is, perhaps that's how they came about with that figure of, 100 million. And so we're wondering, and we had the conversation to say, did Shanikie miss out on a good opportunity in terms of making our mark and, cementing our place and moving forward? Who made the mistake? Was it this agent? Because obviously the agent does not seem to have a good working knowledge of this professional domain. And so that's in a nutshell, what the conversation is about. And I am going to get, Rurian to come right in right now and to just share some more from his perspective. And then, open the line for you guys to just call in. Remember to hit the like button, hit the subscription button, and share, and let's have this conversation. So again, we're not bashing anyone, and we're sharing in a very respectful way in the context of, Paris 2024. I had said in the previous live, I believe Elaine is going to go to Michael Freighter. I just had one little question mark there, but I feel that would be the context. Rurian, are you here?
I'm right here listening to you, taking us through that, all of that information there. And, it's a really interesting situation that is here for us to discuss. And as you say, we're not going to have any personal attack on anyone, but just to go through and dissect this whole situation and see, what just try to understand why persons made a particular decision when they were placed in a particular situation. So, it's unfortunate for both parties, I would say. And I'm not sure if I'm counting right when I say both parties. So when I say both parties, I'm thinking about Miss Osbourne and Elaine's camp. So, based on the progress that she had made over the last 4 months of the athletics season, it obviously shows that Miss Osborne has, something good, in terms of her coaching. Her programs must have been, aligned with Elaine's progress, and also, fed Elaine what she needed to get those performances out. And, for Elaine to lose a coach like that, then I am thinking that, she will have to start over with whoever comes in next to coach her. And I'm thinking that both parties stand a good chance of losing in this situation. But who made the mistake? I think it was a blunder that they will have to share, and and it's something that we should learn from, I would say. you know I don't think all the parties were at the table when it was bargaining time, and I think that gave some gaps, and that's why we're having this discussion right now.
So, Rura, I'm going to put you on the spot. And I get the sense that you're trying to be politically not, going over on a side. And, it's okay. But I'm just going to ask you. So, in the context of what happened and, what we have discussed, prior to being here, and what we have understood from, all that have happened, do you
Yeah.
believe that Shanikie had a working knowledge of this whole negotiating and what comes with contractual deals or arrangements? Do you believe that that was a factor, or that aspect in terms of the lack of knowledge played an integral role in this split?
I strongly believe so, because the fact that she called in Mr. What's his name there?
Russell, I
Mr.
think
Russell.
Russell.
No,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Mr. Russell for assistance simply means that, she had some doubt of establishing a contract um, with Miss Hira. And the thing is, sometimes we search for experience based on who, we're associated with. And I can't fault her in that regard because, Mr. Russell provided this opportunity for her. So if she wanted anything else, in terms of going forward with this relationship, I am thinking that it's a good decision for him, for her to reach out to him to get some assistance. But where the line, where we must draw the line, or where they should have drawn the line, is Mr. Russell competent enough to discuss a contract? And I don't know if he is. I don't. I'm just saying that to so we could answer that question. Is he competent enough to do that? But
Well, perhaps,
she
perhaps
pulled.
not based on how things unfolded. Perhaps not.
Yeah, but she pulled on her support system, and obviously Mr. Russell is a part of her support system, and that lack of knowledge did not get her, her voice out there. To be honest with you, this opportunity was huge for her, and I'm thinking of myself being a coach in her, in her position, because to be honest, Miss Osbourne has always been in the well, she
The
has always been
background.
supporting.
Yeah,
Yes, she
somewhere.
has always
Yeah.
been in the background, and this gave her an opportunity to come to the foreground. And unfortunately, this is what happened. So the lack of that experience there, I think, caused cost her a huge opportunity. And I'm thinking this too. If you subtract the money out of it, take money out of this whole situation, and just think about, you are coaching the double double of the Olympics. Just by getting Elaine to perform really well, she could be a rich woman for the rest of her life without even charging Elaine a dollar. So I'm just saying this to say that the opportunity that has gone a begging is huge, and will I'm not sure she'll ever get an opportunity like that to boost her career as a coach.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that, Rurian. Let me just go to the chat. Welcome, welcome, guys. Welcome to this conversation. Altia, welcome. Altia, that's a good question. Rurian, the 40,000 US dollars, can you say if it was per month or a year? Was it your understanding that that would have
I
been
I'm not
for the
too
year?
sure how that one. I would have to do some more research, so I can't speak definitively on that. But either way, if you were offered that, plus in
The
addition to
bonuses.
that, just the bonuses, then look on it this way. She has made so much, they have made so much progress with each other. So the bonus, if that were to continue, then the bonuses would come in. And I'm sure that she would get her 15 to 20%
Well, they
from,
were saying
the things
20%.
coming
So,
forward.
and
Okay,
even with the figure, my understanding is that when they proposed this 40,000, they were still open to say, give us a figure. And that's when the $100 million figure came about,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah. So, and I guess that's where it was determined that, okay, we can, I guess, no longer move forward. But, well, based on what happened, they said there was some session schedule and Shanikie sent some communication that she's not going to continue with the training, I guess, something to that effect. Clyde, welcome, welcome. And Clyde is asking a good question here. So are we to believe that, I guess, Darren is I guess, is this experienced in terms of a sports agent? Well, Clyde, I cannot speak to Darren's experience because I don't know. And I am just going off, or we're just going off what is there in the public domain in terms of what other persons with that working knowledge, have to say about, contracts in given this kind of context that is unfolding with Elaine and Shanikie. So as I shared earlier, usually once the coach is there, so for example, when Elaine negotiated that Puma deal, that contract was negotiated without a coach. So not even Darren is on that based on, what is out there. And so it is our understanding that if you're negotiating a contract with a coach, so a coach that has brought you to that level where you're going to get that contract, our understanding is that that's where the 10 to 15%. So in this case, it is totally different because Shanikie was not there at the time, right? And so what persons are saying that $100 million was way, way off in terms of what they wanted. So we're just having, a conversation about that in that aspect. I know I was getting a call, so I'm gonna try and just see if I can get this person back on here. So just let me just see if I can get this person back. So I'm just trying to get this caller back. We'll see if it works. All right, doesn't appear to be working, but the number is on screen. Would love to hear from you. So don't be afraid to call in and, share. Would love to hear from you. Also, you can share in the chat if you feel more comfortable sharing there. And again, please do not forget to hit the like button, hit the share button, and also that subscription button as well. So, Rurian, were there any burning parts that you'd like to share given, the interviews, what was there in the media? What else would you like to share with us?
Just to say that we have to make sure that, we try to hear from all the sides, all the perspectives. Listen first before we cast our judgment as it relates to, anything at all. I think it's a good approach to take so that, you speak from a place of, evidence. So that,
hold a moment, Ruren. I think we're getting a call. So
okay, no problem.
Hello, caller. You're live.
Yes. I was trying to give my little 2-piece on the Elaine stuff.
Okay. You can tell us your name again and where you're calling from?
Patrick.
We didn't get that.
Patrick, your foreign friend.
Yes, Patrick, your foreign friend. All right. Welcome, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm not saying I listen to a lot of the interview with them. Them said it later about 50% want $1 million.
100 million or 100, not 1 million, 100.
100 million.
Yes.
Jamaican.
Yes.
Not US.
Or a little bit less than $1 million US. That's the information that's there. And I guess that was, and based on my understanding, that would be the base and still expecting bonuses.
Wow. You got me on the wrong profession. I want some chicken, I want some training.
Might as well, Patrick.
Yeah, I didn't feel like that.
And that too, like this context is allowing us to have a better understanding too of, other aspects of, I guess, track and field sports in general. And so, yeah.
But when it first came out, and I was like, I don't feel say, our husband are the problem, you know.
That's what everybody, you know, because that has been there since she left MVP.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's not careful. To me, he want to be the coach and manager. He want money still at the family. No one coach at the family.
I don't know if that's a fair perspective, Patrick, given what, you know, has unfolded, because what he said, because Darren, he was on Sportsmax, and what he said that when Elaine, I guess, left MVP, it was never intended for him to be the coach. It was due to not finding someone. That's how that, you know, situation or arrangement came, you know, in place. And so, and I guess that's why he's saying, like, no, I just need to come and talk because of what is there. And then now, given this has happened, a lot of persons were pretty much, you know, beating him down to say, you're not doing the best for Elaine. So I felt, you know, given all that was happening, he wanted to come out and speak to say, you know, hear what. At that point, yes, I was coaching, but I was never intended to be the coach. And even now that, you know, Shanikie is not there, based on what he has said, is that they're pretty much almost there in terms of making it known who Elaine's coach is going to be. And he's saying it's not going to be him.
So what Elaine have to say about it?
We haven't heard directly from Elaine, but Elaine has a management team, and so the management team placed a media release out, and so it could be a case where she just does not want to be out in the media. And you know, these things we have to think about an athlete, not just in the physical sense, but in terms of the psychological or mental effect that, you know, these things can have on athletes.
Yeah, well, she has the main purpose. She should have put out a statement, you know, let people, if people are inside what's going on, because our husband can't come and say what he want to say. Maybe he can be lying. Someone can be lying.
I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go there, Patrick, because when this came out, remember that Shanikie, she came and she went to the media and she shared. So if you go back to our last live where we started to just share this information, Shanikie, even and with the whole equipment and stuff, Shanikie was the one who said in that, you know, interview that, you know, Elaine asked about, should I still pay 15% even though it's my facility, my equipment? Right. So Elaine was not agreeing. The mere fact that somebody is going to ask you about that indicates to me that this person is not agreeing and is ready to make a counter offer. To say, no, you know, these are all my things. You're just coming with your expertise. You don't know about medical stuff. You're just coming to do, I guess, to take me through training, pretty much.
As I said, management and just come together and second the thing and stop make it all over the media, make it look so bad. And, you know, like Jamaica, make it look so bad. Just come together and just make a decision. And stop calling up the name of the media all over the place. People are here, these people are talking about Jamaican, athlete. You know, just separate once and for all.
Yeah, I think everybody wants the best. And, you know, in this situation, because we know that Elaine, you know, what is ahead for her. And we want to see that triple-double. So she's double-double, and we want to see she just stamp her mark or dominance some more in that context. And so, you know, as you mentioned, Patrick, you know, you want the best outcome for everybody so that Elaine can just continue, you know, with her business of training, right?
Yeah, but before the lady take over, she wasn't doing good. I think the lady take over, no, she improved a little since the lady take over.
Yes,
because the trial, and then she go on the world game, and you know. So I don't know what's going on, but some just come to some agreement and put this behind it.
Yeah, for sure, in terms of moving forward, and no doubt we saw the impact that Shanikie had in that context, just bringing Elaine back to like 10-7-9. And even in that media release from, Elaine's team, they acknowledge that as well. But the big problem was they use a term like extremely excessive amount that they wanted in terms of that figure that we're hearing.
Money, man. Wow. Well, they make a come to an agreement because training started, she will concentrate on training. She can concentrate on the media. She will hear this, not the media. She will hear that. Can I show her off a little?
Right. So, and I feel that would be better for her to have management, a team, just, dealing with the media, as opposed to she personally stepping out to be answering questions and, giving interviews.
But with my opinion, my opinion, since our husband, the Venus, Elaine, stop performing the way, because when she have MVP, since she leave MVP, as a lot of people to say, is our husband makes she leave MVP. That's why he came out and said, well, for people to say that.
Yeah.
So, can't make your husband interfere with your career them way there. You have to take up
and that's what I am saying, Patrick. I cannot speak to that to say that the husband is interfering. It could be a case where Elaine, and obviously Elaine wants her husband to be a part of her professional career. And I guess as fans, we just have to respect that.
Yeah, respect her decision on things she make. I just want to come and be the Elaine where I know she can be.
Right, so that nobody not laugh after you again, eh?
I'm not telling man, I can't wait to the time. I'm not telling man. I say, when be Shakira, say, she man, she will not lucky 100 meter. Yeah, that's a lucky 100 meter.
You say you want Elaine to be good and back. So when you're walking in the US there, you don't have to hold on your head.
And Italy's who win could I Shelly, Elaine, and Sharika, as long as Shakira now win.
Yeah.
As long as she win. This year, I get that beaten this year, and I'm looking for revenge. I get that beaten this year.
Yeah.
It was a night. Plus the 4x1 too. I make it even worse.
Understand there, Patrick.
Yeah, we'll be back next year. I ain't even worrying about it right now.
Right. Yeah.
But about it, what I see with Noel and his girlfriend. In girlfriend bring him in a Jamaica to come teach some of the secrets,
You think so?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man, come teach me the secret, man. I'm there too regular now and I catch some dance and then I get some insight to certain things. we are playing with the enemy too close. Enemy is too close.
It's all in the name of fun and off season, and they're doing their thing, and Sharika, and that's all good, and just having that I guess avenue to explore, have fun. You see their lighter, brighter side, because it takes a lot out of them, in terms of performing. So sometimes you might see a race, a 10-second race or 11-second race, and that's what you see on the track, but there is so much that goes into just, doing 10 seconds or 11 seconds. So lots of work there.
I'm not a fan of Noah Line, not a fan of him. And the reason why I'm not a fan of him, because I think last year, when they run 1, 2, 3, when the race over, them I walk, them say, I didn't say the Jamaican on the podium. I didn't like that. I was vexed about that. That's why I don't like him.
Well, we just have to step up our game if we want to be there. So we just have to do what we need to do to get there, and support our athletes, and give them that strength and motivation to move forward, and try not to negatively affect them psychologically, because some of us, when we come online and we talk and share, it has so much impact. Some people you don't know, they might just need to see one positive message just to push them forward. And so, we just need to think about that as well.
Yeah, but if I say a negative, it's no well while though, I will say it over and over.
All right, Patrick. You're straight Jamaican. Jamaican blood there in all of your veins.
I'm a Jamaican, just living in a different country.
I get you.
Mm-hmm.
But how are you doing? Are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Can't complain. Just waiting for the Contractual and everything to start back up again. We got some guy figure out,
Okay.
We just like revenge. There's some revenge to take next year.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
So I'm everything good. So, glad to come on the program,
Awesome.
I can't get my 2%.
Always love to hear your voice and others. And again, it's voices, so it's not just my voice. So always appreciate hearing from everyone.
No problem. All right, and take care.
All right, Patrick, you too.
Yeah.
All right. So, Ruran, you're still here, and perhaps you can share your thoughts there on, Patrick and what he has shared. But in the meantime, let me go back to the comment section. Zachary, welcome. And I see Zachary saying here, people don't like Elaine's husband, so they are very biased. The lady was asking for too much, and I believe Shanikie here. And I guess people are afraid to say that. Also, nobody knew about, I guess, Shanikie until she started training Elaine. I guess in the context of being so public, I guess, Zachary, because she was working at some point at, MVP there. And Zachary is reminding us that Elaine, providing her facility there and equipment. And Altia, okay, saying about, MVP there with Shanikie. And I see your comment there, Zachary, in terms of the public. And Clyde is asking here, can Shanikie, and this is a good question, Ruran, can Shanikie rely, let me see, I'm trying to get to this, on Elaine staying healthy? What bonus if she's injured again? And that's a good question. And I'm just going to say what I believe is just what I believe, and Ruran, you can share. So in that context, if Elaine is injured and is not able to perform, then I am understanding that she won't be able to train, right? Either. And so in that context, Shanikie perhaps would not be working, but still getting the base. And I guess these are some terms that perhaps would be included in the contract. So for example, at one point, I guess just before the trials, Elaine did not train for about 3 months based on injuries. So that's a good question. Not that I have the best answer, Clyde, but a very good question. But I believe that is where the base comes in, that base salary. And once she's performing, then you get the bonuses, right? And so that's just my simple answer there. Ruran, do you have anything to share on that one?
Yeah, good question. Good question. But if we're going to look at it like that, athletics is a sport that you don't know when you're going to be getting an injury. I know that Elaine has been injury prone, and something that we have to take into account as well is that they, based on the information in the that's out there, they have been taking some steps in order to help her to stay injury free. And just the way Darren spoke, they are pretty excited about the new season coming up and for her to do well. And they are ensuring that she has the necessary tools. And a big significant part of that is providing her with the necessary health stuff so that she's able to stay healthy. So that's how yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And the reverse is also true, and she can be very healthy and just move forward and performing at peak and breaking, the record before going to Olympics and doing very well at
For
oh
sure.
my God, yeah, on the circuit there, Diamond League. And so it means that Shanikie could be getting 20% of those as well. So the reverse can be true in terms of just balancing that question there. So yes, there is
And
injury, and that's, I believe that's where the base would come in. And again, don't quote me on that, but that would be my assumption that these things will be incorporated into the contractual agreement. And then the reverse can be true. If she's, doing so well, performing so well, then it means that Shanikie is going to reap from that as well. So yes, Ruben,
yes, and just to add to that, and this is something that many persons haven't spoken about as well. We are talking about Miss Osbourne now because of Elaine, the association for those few months. Before that, how many of us would know her? And I think the fact that she is, affixed to Elaine as a coach has done a lot for
for
her
a
as a
resume,
coach.
right?
Yes. And, that is where I think, she will lose out from this whole situation because she will only have 4 months of coaching Elaine Thompson on her resume. And, if she had been there around her for a little longer, get her to run a bit faster to achieve a world record or anything of that magnitude, she would she would raise, yeah, her status would be raised really high, and she would be among the elite coaches around the world.
For
So,
sure. And
just
somebody asked that question to say, and I guess that's a question. Was it Zachary? I think Zachary was trying to put across, and not in a disrespectful way, but I get what you're saying. And I get what you're saying there, Alta, is that she was there, working at MVP. But in all honesty, a lot of persons, unless you are so into track and field and you know the inner workings of MVP, perhaps you would not know. And I believe she's a coach at a high school, I think Papine High. I'm not too sure, guys, you can let me know in the chat. And so in that case, a lot of people, our name is global now. This news is on BBC. It's everywhere, right? Because Elaine is that type of athlete that attracts that type of attention. So I can understand too why Elaine would not want to be out in the public saying things and just want somebody to, deal with this for me. And so Elaine, we're talking about double Olympic athlete here. No one has ever done that. And she's in a position to even stamp some more dominance there in terms of making it a triple double. And so, in that context there, a lot of personal. So Shanikie is now like a worldwide name. And I'm
for
so
sure, for sure.
you can go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's sad that this is the sort of publicity that she's getting, and just to get back to the whole situation here, this situation has, been a learning experience for me too, because when I think about what has happened and what information have come to the fore, I'm thinking that whenever there is a discussion or any sort of contractual arrangement, this cannot be done via the phone. You need persons to be, there
Sitting
present,
at the table, right?
sitting at the table. Or if we're in the technological age where you can have live streams where
Zoom. You mean Zoom?
Zoom, yes.
Not a live
So
stream,
people,
but just a meeting. Yeah.
yeah, Zoom, yes, one of those things. So you're right there to hear what is being said, and how the decisions are arrived at. And I think Miss Osborne wasn't able to stay abreast of all the information, and she was fed secondhand information that cost her an amazing opportunity.
So, Ruren, I'm going to ask you this question. Sophie, welcome. I see you there in the chat, and Sophie saying, so I guess on the Jamaica Observer that a lot of coaches in Jamaica and overseas are proposing to coach Elaine. All right, thanks for sharing. Oh, did I just miss the question? So, oh, I believe this is what I was going to ask. Let me see. So, in the context of, what has happened there, I'm trying to still remember the question, right? In the context of Miss Osbourne. So, you were sharing that perhaps it's a situation where, she was not fed, the information. And if, say, for example, Miss Osbourne was at the table with, the agent, Mr. Russell, and with Elaine's team, then perhaps they could have made a better deal. But because it was just this one person taking up, this negotiation for Miss Osbourne, then perhaps that, caused things to fall apart. So this is the question now that I have for you. Do you believe that given what is out there previously in the public space, that Darren is like, not wanting to pay, always messing things up? Do you believe that, that assumption in the public space is a factor in this one? And I ask you that question in the context that, when I read, the article with Coach Osbourne's, responses, and Coach Osbourne was saying, Elaine was okay with it. It was just, I guess, the husband who was not. So do you believe that assumption there that the husband is always messing things up, quotation, because that's an assumption that, that opinion, right, was a factor here with Miss Osbourne and her agent, in the sense where, because the agent perhaps advised her not to take it, then, and because Darren was saying no, they felt that he was the issue, and that played a factor there. I don't know, just throwing that out to you.
Well, I can't speak definitively on this, and to be honest, whatever is tossed out into social media, it can skew your views of things. But in essence, I am saying that in a situation like this, you would want to be at the table for the discussions. And I think that's where things, well, the wheel fell off the bus in this situation. So, the fact is this too, when you were proposing your question and before your question, I, I was thinking that they worked 4 months together already. They did that 4 months already, so they had that working experience, and all of this information was still out there in the public's eye, and they were able to work through for those 4 months. So that should be a deterrent for them to be able to sit around the table and discuss things properly.
Yeah, and I get the sense too, and that the era camp, Tom's Elaine's camp, our team, they wanted to continue with Miss Osbourne. I get that. I get that from all indication, but what kind of throw, I guess, things off was at $100 million. Like, they're like, there's no way we can do this. This is, because I get the sense that, they wanted to move forward. It wasn't a case where they're saying after the 4 months, we don't want your services anymore. It was a case where Elaine wanted to continue with Coach Osbourne. And as you mentioned, I feel that is critical, in the context of, Miss Osbourne being there, understanding, so just by them communicating via text messages, it's obviously that she is not privy to that at the immediate, time of communication. Would be the agent saying, well, I sent this, or should we send that? It's not like an email where she can be CC'd on it to say, I heard text messages, so I'm just going to go with that. And so in that context, I guess perhaps for Miss Osbourne, she needed to be at a table physically to say, all right, if they're giving us that, let me know what this look like. in this context, and she did, can determine, I guess, what they want to take. But again, as you said, she placed her trust, her confidence in Mr. Russell, and that would have perhaps been from that initial connection where Mr. Russell connected the two. So I do not get the sense that Elaine and Darren, their team, Elaine's team, did not want to move forward. They wanted to move forward, but because in terms of proposing a figure, like, and if you look back at the article, I guess Shanikie, Coach Osbourne, mentioned some like garbage contract. And so you will read our garbage proposal. And so I guess that's in the context of that 40,000 US dollars there and the I bonuses. And so it is just, for me, I find it just unfortunate that these two ladies are not able to move forward together, because as you mentioned, Ruren, it would have been a great opportunity for Shanikie to show her expertise, and Will's better than the double.
For sure. And I'm with you with that as well. You know, just listening to all the information that is out there, this is what I am getting from it. I'm getting the fact that, the Heroes camp wanted to move forward with with Miss Osborne, and I'm getting the fact that Miss Osborne wanted to move forward with Miss Hira, coaching Miss Hira, but the infusion of that middle person there, seemed to have been problematic, and that's where things kind of fell apart. It is strange how things can go off target easily, and if we can think about our personal life in a sense where we sometimes send a text message and it is not, it is misconstrued, it's not understood the way that we intended it to be, and that's why I'm thinking that you know the communication via messaging and so on, the core of that should have happened around the table with all members being there. Miss Osborne being there, Mr. Russell being there, Mr. Hira and Mrs. Hira, all persons should be around the table. So whenever the proposal was made of that $40,000 dollars, they could say, all right, I can't work with this, or I'm not, I would want something more. But that did not happen, and just to add a little bit more to this discussion as well, I am thinking that Miss Hira and Darren, they would have an idea of how much a coach would be, value in terms of
Yeah,
the amount of, yes. So that's something that we have to add to this conversation as well.
for
They
sure.
have that experience. So they would say, all right, a coach would be working between 40 and 80,000. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
just thinking that they would have that expertise. So whenever they got something that is out of whack, out of their range, that they would, they would consider to be normal, then that's where they became startled and found out that this might not be something that's worth going forward with.
for
So
sure.
yes, I just think that there was too many gaps in the discussions, and based on what happened, if you follow the stories and hear what happened, you realize that you know persons were messaging, sending messages, and the figure was questioned and it was confirmed, and that's where everything fell apart.
Right. So guys, the phone line is open. So if you want to call, you can call in. Would love to hear from you. And let me just go into the chat quickly here. And Altia there, I guess talking about Shanikie and champs and persons who will know about Shanikie there. Altia, is she at Papine High? Zachary, I'm not sure Zachary is saying listening to the interview. Darren sounds like he really wanted to keep Shanikie. That's my belief too, Zachary. Carlton, lovely Soji, welcome, and blessings to you too, Soji. And Zachary saying, he said since 2022, they were trying to get her to train Elaine, I guess Miss Osbourne. And Clyde is saying you always ask for more than you're willing to accept. But Clyde, 100 million, is that too much? What would be a reasonable figure, Clyde? I'm not sure if you have knowledge of that. Sporting business there. And Alte is saying exactly, if you have been looking for a coach so long, you must have a set plan of payment to the employee. And Altea is saying, yes, Papine I. Okay, she was. Okay. Thanks, Altea. Yes, so and that point there. So in that case, Rurian, as you mentioned there, looking for a coach, they would have, some understanding of what this person, would perhaps should get. And I guess based on what, Coach Osbourne wanted at the time, it was just too much for them at that particular time, or too much in general, because a lot of persons is saying, 100 million is way, way, way too much. And so in that case, you have to give, Elaine's team an applause in that sense, where, they are not the only ones who is saying it's too much, but other persons, who have done their research, check with people who have negotiated these kinds of contracts and deals, indicating that, that figure was far, far too much. And Lisa, what did the coach receive for the 4 months she trained Elaine? That's a very good question, and I don't know. And to me, it is perhaps obvious because it was temporary. I don't know if she was getting something, for 4 months, for or monthly, or however that is. But at this point, they wanted to, I guess, cement their relationship together moving forward. And it just fell apart. Rurian, I don't know, what did the coach receive, Shanikie receive for the 4 months that she trained?
Well, I can't give a figure, to be honest. So this is how I'm going to analyze that. I don't know how much she earned for those 4 months, but the fact that she sounded like she wanted to continue, it sounded like she got paid for her expertise. And if that were not the case, then she wouldn't want to go back there. And also the amount of strides that Elaine made too, started making Miss Osbourne's name flow off many persons' lips. And that was, a bonus for her as well, where her name has been, been mentioned in the athletic sphere. So whatever she was paid for that 4 months is sealed and settled. No one is complaining. Elaine had no issue paying that money to her, and think she believes that she got value for money.
That's a good point.
And
I
Miss
would
Osbourne
say
was complaining.
what they were offering her now would have been more than what she was getting.
I would love to believe that.
Yeah, based on everything that is out there. So even with Darren coming up with 40,000 US dollars and plus the high bonuses, I would say based on that, she would be getting more, because remember now, they realized they did their temporary thing, and they realized that in terms of improvements, we're getting it. So if you want to retain somebody based on the fact that Elaine has been improving, right? you're going to add more so that this person, I guess, in somewhat way, in your mind, does not, say, no, I am not staying. So I believe that what they were offering or planning to offer was more than what she was getting.
For sure. And I'll just add this little bit to what you just said. That's why they wanted her to come forward with a proposal as well. Because, based on the expertise and based on what she did in that 4 month period, they are saying that, if she comes with a reasonable offer, we're going to pay her this because we have seen what her ability and what she's able to do. But
Right.
I think what happened was that the amount that was was requested was just too much, and that's what threw everything off.
So, Ruren, on that point here, right, where,
Yes.
do you feel that it was a case where Shanikie felt that she had the angle and they had the blade? In Jamaican terms, me have the angle,
Yeah.
you have the blade. And so she felt that, or the team felt that, okay, she don't really have nobody else to go try and pick, and given the time where we're at, it's crunch time. It's about 8 months to Paris. So I am perhaps going to go for and perhaps not Shanikie, but perhaps more so the agent, because Shanikie entrusted the agent, to do this, to carry out this negotiation. So do you feel that perhaps it was, that kind? And again, this is perhaps, so we're not saying, we're just assuming or just trying to wonder here. Perhaps it's a case where, given everything now and where they are, in the context of 8 months, and it's a place where, what, she's pressed, so we can go as high because there is limited to no option for her. She can't go to MVP. Elite is a no. She can't go to Spring Tech because of the contractual deal, that kind of thing. So do you feel that perhaps that was like, kind of them stretching it to say, she's kind of like in a box here?
Well, that's a good question, but for me, if I were in her situation, that's Miss Osbourne's situation, I wouldn't see that as something that would warrant any form of serious thought. You know, it makes no sense to try to stretch this person, and the perks that comes with this job would substantiate for all of that. As I said before, if she did well or did continue to do well with Elaine, she would become one of the elite coaches in around the athletic sphere, and by doing that as well, she would get the bonuses that she was promised. So she would get that money. But the biggest problem for her was that this situation happened and the most foundational thing did not happen, where she had her contract signed. And that's where the problem is. You have to get across that first hurdle first. That first hurdle has to be cleared before you can win that race. And she should have ensured that she got the contract signed with Elaine first before even thinking anything else about getting her, that she's in a desperate situation, and that. So I wouldn't give that line of reasoning any thought in terms of
Fair,
her.
fair.
I
Mm.
would not do that any at all. But my thing with this whole situation was she was detached from this decision making, and that is what has happened with her. And this is what popped into my head, and I don't know if anybody who is out there listening. Do you think for that 4 month period that they worked together, that Mr. Russell was the person who discussed the payment package? So that's my question out there.
Perhaps not.
As I strongly believe that that did not happen. So, you know, what I'm saying, that in that case things went smoothly. In this case, it didn't. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how things, but it's a big mess. As I said before, nobody does anything for free. But if she decided that I want to coach the Elaine Thompson for free, the amount of, and she did well with her, she would make probably that 100, the amount that,
100
that was
million or
proposed,
more.
that 100 million or more. Yeah, with
I get
ease.
what you're
So
saying. Not that, not, and let me just make this clear. Not that Ruran is saying that she should do it for free, there, guys. It's just, just making a little thing to say, if things worked out well, the way that, we all wanted it to work out, well for both ladies, then, it would have been a win-win situation. So that's what he's trying to say. Not to say that Shanikie should coach for free. But again, guys, the phone line is open, and Rurian and I would love to hear from you. So you can call the number that you see on screen there, and also just close the chat a little bit and hit the like button. We can do better with the likes, and we can do better with the subscriptions. So hit the subscription button as well, and hit the like button. Let us continue to grow together. All right, so would love to hear from you, and that would be awesome, just hearing from you. And let us see here. Clyde is saying problem. I guess they had the same, I guess, money dispute situation at MVP. Even if they are right both times, most people will not believe it. And Clyde, again, it's just what some people run within the media without necessarily, having the facts to support that. And so we just have to be careful what we share. And even if you have a perspective, make it clear that this is your view, your perspective, and it is not substantiated with any, facts. And, we just have to be clear with that. And, perhaps that's the situation, I feel, that there was a type of description, the word is not coming to me right now, of Darren out there in the public domain to say that he's trying to mess up things and mess up Elaine and mess up her career. And maybe that might not be the case, but because we have some people that we respect in the media space, or on YouTube, we just build on that to say that, okay, he's back here now, he's going to do this times too, until we see or get information otherwise. Like, it's hard for us to, we should not be doing that, because again, we have to think about the psychological effect that these contexts play on athletes, or have on athletes. And so it's, as I said, and I cannot emphasize this is enough, we have a responsibility. And so even with this platform, it's okay to ask critical questions. It's okay to share your perspective, but I am not in the business of bashing or bringing down anyone. We're all human. We make mistakes. Mistakes are learning opportunities, and we just need to look at ways to move forward, to not repeat, mistakes in the past, and again, to learn from them. And so we don't judge. And, in terms of certain words, we don't want to label anybody there in the chat either. And so we just want to keep this space a safe one. And so we understand that, persons, we'll have people who are more so supporting Shanikie. That is okay. People who are, more, supporting Elaine, that is okay. It's just like we have persons here, for example, I don't see him tonight, Justin. Justin is a Shakari fan. hands down. And we're okay, we have a good relationship. We have some persons who are, number one Shelly, some persons Sharika, some persons Elaine, and some of us, we just want to see a Jamaican win over an American, and some of us, may the best person, win. And so we just want to, understand that, and just keep, keep things good and safe. So even though, the perspectives may vary, we just want to maintain this respectful space. All right. So let us just keep it there. Let us not label anyone with any, descriptive words. Let us just keep this space a safe one. And so that, we can hear and learn from each other. And somebody might share a perspective that you do not necessarily like. Ask a critical question, why do you share such thing given that XXX? Ask a critical question. So there are ways of, opposing without, disrespecting. All right. So let us keep that, safe. I'll tell you saying Justin soon arrive. My celebrated Shakari. Right. And so, that's the space that we have, just differing views, and that is totally okay. And again, I am just here dissecting, and guys, if something is wrong, it is just wrong. If something is right, it is right. If we don't know, we just don't know. All right. Justina Soji, come by here. Soji was in the chat earlier. I don't know. Perhaps Soji is still in Jamaica, and perhaps did not get to see any D Cup matches, because I got to understand that they were canceled, perhaps because of the weather. Well, the Champions Cup, I guess. But yeah. So, Rurian, anything else you'd like to share? Guys, you can still call, even though you hear Rurian. Rurian is not affecting the phone line. All right. So you can still call.
Okay. Yes, guys. I'm right here listening to you. Can't wait to hear from you in terms of your perspective on this issue. But just to add a little bit more dimension to this situation, the more I listen to the comments and the information that is coming forward, then the more critically I'm thinking about this entire situation. And I'm just putting myself in the space and in the shoes of Miss Osbourne. And I'm thinking that what kind of preparation is there, for our coaches or young coaches, in terms of to support them in regards like these, where,
Like learning the
are there.
business, right?
Yes, learning the business, because that's what I was heading towards. Sports is a business now, and each person who will participate in this business has to know their role and how to navigate that. And I'm thinking that is something that would have cost her in this situation. And I'm just thinking about all the other young coaches that are out there. How many of them would be able to, to discuss a contractual arrangement and ensure that they're getting the best deal for themselves, and they are giving the best best to their customers as well. So just to strike up that balance, because to be honest with you, I think this was a situation where this could be, pacified, because there was a lot of wiggle room there for them to navigate, but that did not happen. But as young coaches coming through, not probably not fully, knowledgeable about the business aspect of
Right.
athletics. Is there anything in place, or should there be something in place to help them, or should there be a team of persons that they can go to break off these contracts for them to and ensure that they, you know, get the best deal out of these, situations? Because like it's sad that she has done so well with Elaine, and Elaine wanted her back. But because of misunderstanding and breaking down in communication, that has cost her this opportunity. So that's just where I am with this, and I don't know if you have anything to add as it relates to that. But that's where my thought is. Let's say she's given a contract like this tomorrow, another big athlete. Is it going to go down the same way? Is it going to be a case that she's going to be possibly detached from the contractual discussions, or so that's where my thought is now.
Yeah, for sure. I feel that, definitely, opportunities for learning. And especially, I feel that this would come from persons who are usually negotiating these deals, because you have persons who know the business, and you have some top coaches too. I guess like MVP, Francis, Stephen Francis, Glenn Mills at Racers. They would know the business, very well, to know what seems, to be a good deal as opposed to what is not, given their experience. And so maybe it's the government who might be responsible for getting these persons with the knowledge, having workshops, some form of training, and, in terms of helping, as you said, new coaches who are coming, because a lot of, as you would see, it's clear that Miss Osbourne, she has the expertise, but perhaps some other aspects were, lacking, missing. And she reached out to somebody who, I guess, she had, that confidence given this person's experience, because this person was also at MVP. I can't remember what his position was, but maybe not fully aware of the business of negotiating contracts as well. And so, when we go to people for certain things, guys, if you're a communication specialist, you stick to communication. And I know sometimes in Jamaica, we tend to want to be head cook and bottle washer. If you don't know about something, you just don't know, right? And so it could be a case where that happened, because if you had gone to somebody, and I guess another factor would be somebody who you can trust, right? To say is going to have your best interest. But importantly, if she had had, that some knowledge, some understanding of where she should fall in terms of a figure, then perhaps this would have been absolutely different in terms of how things, ended. Tariq, welcome. I see your comment there, Tariq, and based on my understanding, I could be wrong. I don't believe it was, Elaine's team that brought this to the fore in terms of to the public, right? It came out and it started, and I felt it was good for them to respond by that media release. So that media release came out, and then that Shanikie responded to that media release. Then I saw Darren's interview, and I'm yet to see anything else from Miss Osbourne. So I am wondering, okay, is it a case where the 100 million, if that was false, then she would have come to say, no, that is not true. So we're not yet there. So we'll wait to see if we get any further updates. But I felt it was important for the camp to put that media release out. And I also feel it was important for Shanikie to share, because we cannot just look at one side. We have to look at both sides. And again, I did like a critical analysis of, both sides in our last live. So don't really want to go back there, but if you want, you can go back to aspects of that conversation and, try to see if you agree or disagree with what, we shared there in that one. And I'm seeing your comment there, Altia, and it may not be the case, it may not be the case in the altar in terms of she knowing what a wage, what that might look like, because perhaps while she was there, she was not in that business, like, in the administration side of things. So she would not be privy to see the contract. She might hear, but not necessarily to see. So like a person like Bruce, perhaps I would say Bruce might know, right? So it could be a possibility where she did not know, and a high possibility, because if you're going to ask for a figure where persons in the field is going to say that is pretty much very, extremely excessive, and, use words like outrageous, ridiculous figure, like, it is clear based on those, aspects that it is a possibility that she does not have that information there.
And that actually, just to add to that, just to add to that, as you were talking again, there was something popping into my mind. But, based on what I've heard so much from Miss Osbourne, she has not ever mentioned numbers. She has
Right.
only mentioned percentage.
The
And
15%.
the 15%. And the 15% would be probably what she would be hearing from coaches that she was around.
Right.
So she didn't talk about the money, and based on what they were saying, she was pretty much thinking that coaches get 15%,
Right.
whatever that is.
That's
So
a very
I
good
think
point.
so. That's something that I want to add to this conversation, where she knows that coaches get 15% of whatever, but she didn't know the fullness to that. So tell me
That's
what you think of.
Oh, absolutely, Roy. And I really appreciate that point. And thanks for being here with me still and sharing. That's absolutely a good point. So thanks for bringing me back there. Because, in that context, Altia, definitely, yes, she has that understanding that coach gets, 10 to 15%. She wanted the maximum because she felt that, I am bringing this to the table. My expertise, you have improved, and so I want 15%. So she has that understanding, but what she perhaps did not have was that contracts, right, that are negotiated without a coach is not under the same way in the context of negotiations. So you get your 15% on deals or contracts that are based on your work, your performance with the athletes. So thank you so much, Ruren, for bringing me back there. And so that is definitely important in this conversation, because she was not given a number. She was just saying, I want my 15%. And when they were saying, well, give us a figure, because if 15% means you're going to know the details of Elaine's contract, and that is not possible, and that cannot be, because this is confidential. You cannot know about this, and then the 15% is really not what you're supposed to be getting, because you were not on this contract. You did not, negotiate this. As a matter of fact, based on what the husband said, there is no coach on it. Not even him, as the husband, is not on that contract. And again, this kind of, aligned with his, argument that it was never intended for him to coach Elaine, right? And so I felt, yes, Shanikie had that idea, 15%, but did not know that, there are different contexts surrounding that 15%. And this was one of, I guess, the exception where you did not negotiate that contract. So there's no way you can get that. And so what I believe, and again, this is just my belief, is that the agent now trying to figure out what the 15% would have been of Elaine's Puma contract came up with that extremely excessive figure of 100 million, just working and say, okay, this must be the contract. So that's how they came up. But again, just by, listening to what other people have to say, who are in that business of negotiating contract, like this was very, very like way off, way off. So great point there, Ruran. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, Altia, get you there.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah, so do we, and no one is calling in, Ruran. I don't know. Guys, you can still call.
I'm wondering if it's because of me, because usually we have a few persons calling. Just call in and let us hear what you have to say. If you just want to say hi to us, if you
And
just want
yeah,
to, tell
even if
us
you
what
just
you
want
think
to
about this
say,
platform.
right. If you
Let
like the
us,
program, if you like what we're doing, if you're new here, even that, even if you don't want to share on this topic, would love to hear your voice. If you're able to call in and, share. Let me just check the phone. But it's working because we got one caller. So
yeah, for sure.
I know.
Yeah, but yeah, it would be good to hear from you guys. That's what this platform is all about. It's all about voices, and you get this opportunity to hear your voice, and we want to hear you.
Right. And while you're at it, please remember to hit the like button, hit the subscription button, and tell a friend to tell another friend about the Voices in Education. All right. So again, this is a safe space where we share and learn from each other. We do that in a respectful way to maintain the safe space where everyone feels a sense of belonging, where you feel valued. And so, you always feel as if you want to be here, and if you don't come here, you miss the program, especially when I was not feeling so well. I had lots of persons reaching out to say, we missed the program, we want the program. And so that's the space that we're trying to maintain. And thank you so much for maintaining this safe space as well. I'll just saying, I am saying, I guess, hi from the chat tonight. All right, Altia, understand that. And, not all the time people will be able to call in. But again, if you just want to call in and share, the line is open and, available to you. Would love to hear, your voice. And even if you don't want to share what we're talking about, would still love to hear from you as well. And remember to hit that like button, hit that subscription button. All right, let us run up the subscription, guys. So, Rurian, back to you. I missed
Yeah,
that 15%. What else did I miss from our pre-live conversation?
well, it's just that sometimes when you hear somebody talking, or there are certain things that pops into your head, and that was one of those moments. But just to put you on the spot now, Natasha, who do you think lost more from the breakaway in this deal? And there is only one person I think that gained from this deal, though. But who do you think you know lost more?
Well. I was wondering, how long you're going to take before you ask me this question, because when I fired it on you, I was saying, how come, like JPS, how come? You didn't ask that question. But this is what I am going to say. In the context of Elaine, we don't know what the future holds, right? So obviously, she is not going to spend money based on what she believes is overly excessive, right? And so she's going to move on to somebody new, I believe. And I believe perhaps I am the first person to put this out. It's going to be Michael Freighter. My only question mark is Brianna. But then again, Brianna and Elaine, they have a good chemistry in terms of what I see in the release. All right. And so that was my question mark, because my belief is not having these top athletes at the same place training. That's just me. And I shared, that, right? So for me, I feel it could be a situation where Elaine might be losing out on expertise, but we do not have a way of measuring that. So let us wait to see what happens on the circuit and to see what happens in Paris. It could be that, right? It could be. All right, so that's one way to look at it in terms of who is losing out. Another way to look at it is that Miss Osbourne lost an opportunity to cement her expertise, or cement herself as a top coach based on her expertise. Because it is clear to me that Miss Osbourne has a lot to offer by virtue of Elaine and her team wanting to continue with Miss Osbourne. To me, that is a clear indicator, because as an athlete, I guess based on her experience, she would know when she has a good coach. So given that, I feel that Miss Osbourne just needed a little bit more time, some more opportunity in terms of cementing. But the 4 months is going to be very impressive on her resume. But it's to get that support, to get that athlete that can bring in that deal, that contract, that sponsorship to keep her going, right? And so in that context, I feel like she has lost somewhat. Perhaps who has lost greater? I perhaps would say Miss Osbourne, in the sense where this could have gone far better. We don't know if Elaine is going to, what Elaine's future is going to look like. I don't know what Miss Osbourne's future is going to look like, but what I can say from this is that she would have had an opportunity to just cement herself out there some more, and just building a very strong resume. Elaine is a brand. Elaine is a top athlete. Elaine has a name. And so for me, Elaine, as long as Elaine is doing okay in terms of her fitness, in terms of her health, then we're going to see some good races or good performances there. And so that is what we're open for. But looking at the situation as a whole, they both missed out, in that sense. But for each party is going to think about their best interest. And in that case, I have to support both sides in terms of thinking about their best interest. So Elaine for thinking about her best interest, and Miss Osbourne for saying, this is my value, this is what I believe I am worth, and sticking to that. Although it could be a situation where she was misinformed, and then this caused this whole, context to happen. And so that would be unfortunate for me. And let me see here.
Thank you so much.
Well, making my voice. I'm just looking in the chat here a bit red. We need to talk about Shakari's win tomorrow night, unless there's a change in the story. I believe Elaine, I guess Altea said perhaps Elaine lost more. And Lisa here, could there be an aim to break up these two ladies? Well, Lisa, could be. I don't know, in terms of an agenda. And I don't know. Or it could be, because this is what I am saying, Lisa. Is it a case where Shanikie, and that's a good question, Lisa. Is it a case where Shanikie does not have a good relationship with Stephen Francis and that team to perhaps call and say, Coach, I'm getting this opportunity. How you think things go? And it could be that they no longer have a relationship because Elaine is working with Shanikie. So that's a point there. And Altia is saying, I believe Miss Osbourne is going to spark a surprise. I would love that for her, Altia, because I believe that she has, as I said, so much to offer. I believe that she has a lot to offer. So I would love for her to get that opportunity to show what she's made of. I would love for her to get that opportunity, Altia. Rian, any thoughts on question, especially about could it be a possible agenda to separate these two ladies?
Well, we can't rule anything out, and I think that's an interesting comment here coming through from Lisa. They'd say there's tricks in trade, right? So I don't know what is happening in that regard, but that is definitely a possibility. Um, because then if we want to put things into context too, these ladies have worked for 4 months, and she left from running over 11 seconds to back into contention. I think she ran the second
10-7.
fastest or short.
No, well, she went back to 10-7-9. That was her
Went back to for
season
sure,
best.
yeah. And right back in the mix of the top performers of last year or the last season. So if that progression continued, let's say we added another 4 months to that, or another 8 months to that, or a year to that, and that progress continued, then Elaine would be the top sprinter in the world. So it I don't know, the possibility lies that somebody would say, well, this chemistry is working well. We could try to do that. But to be really honest, based on all the information that has been put forward on this topic, I just think there was a breakdown in communication, and I just think that this is my personal view. I just think that Mr. Russell did not handle the negotiations pretty well. Miss Osborne was, away from the negotiation, which should not happen if she has intention of learning about the business aspect of her job. So that's it. And the fact that not all the parties were able to sit down and discuss this thing properly. I think that's where the thing fell apart. So I know that's a possibility, but that's not what that I wouldn't I wouldn't I wouldn't support that one. But it's definitely a possibility.
Okay, fair enough. Get you there. And as I just feel that it's just unfortunate, just that this partnership did not work out. And then sometimes, who knows, perhaps this was where it should end. and leave certain things and move forward. Who knows? And so only time will tell. And again, we want to wish the best for each party. So the best for Elaine, the best for Miss Osbourne, Coach Osbourne, in terms of moving forward. And I would want to believe that both parties are reflecting on what had happened and learning from just how things unfolded in terms of moving forward. And so again, we are not here to cast any judgment, not to belittle anyone or bash anyone. We're just here having a critical conversation in a very respectful way, and sending our best wishes to all the persons involved in this context, more so Elaine and Shanikie. And so it is just important for us to understand too that in between all that is happening, there are some things that perhaps we will never know, and unless, there is this back and forth, right? And so we just want, and I guess for a lot of us, we just want to see Elaine, just doing well as all the other Jamaican athletes, doing well without all the issues. And again, sometimes these issues are what we call, baga problems. They come to the space not necessarily, by the athlete, or in this case, by the coach. Because when this news broke, I did not get this so-called news from Elaine's team or from Shanikie, right? And so sometimes we have to look at that too and understand, it wasn't something coming from Elaine when we started seeing this in the media, hearing about it, and it wasn't coming directly from Shanikie. It was after things were out and, persons putting out, things, then we saw, well, this is my understanding based on what I see. I saw a media release from, I think it was Andy Sports Management, from Elaine's team there, sharing what had happened, I guess, this refuting what was out there by at that point in the media. And following that, we saw Coach Osbourne, coming out to share. And again, I did somewhat of a critical breakdown of, both sides in terms of analyzing. And then we saw, Darren coming and sharing. And we don't know what else will be there in the context of, this situation. But I hope that at this point, there is a conclusion, and, both parties can move on, move forward, and, do what they want to do in their best interest. Rurian, what says you?
Yeah, for sure. And we want to wish the women success in their future endeavors. That's all we want. The thing that I want to focus a little bit on, though, I want to commend the Hira camp for for being so forthright and providing certain information that will that has cleared up a lot of stuff that was a lot of things that were floating around that. It was good to see members of the camp coming forward and sharing those information. So, the fact that Darren was able to come and shed some light on the situation and, to take off some of the burden off his shoulders as well, because, many persons thought of him in a particular way. And, for him to share like that, that was really good. And, as it relates to their camp, I must commend them too for keeping Elaine out of the media, because I don't think that is something that would be healthy for her. She just needs to concentrate on her training, get her coaching aspect fixed up, and focus on her goal. That is, most likely going to be heading into Paris 2024. So, I love the fact that they came out and addressed, the issues. And the third thing that they did too, they expressed, their sincere gratitude toward Miss Osborne for what she did for the 4 month period. And, not often when things fall apart like this that, parties are able to come forth, come to the media and say, well, this is what happened. Things fell apart, but she has contributed well. Most times the focus is on negative stuff. And I have to give them great, I give them some kudos for the way they handle the situation.
Yeah, for sure. I really appreciate that part too, in terms of, highlighting the impact that, Shanikie had, on Elaine in those 4 months too. I really, really appreciated that. And so for me, those are some strong points for Shanikie in terms of moving forward and in terms of, coaching. Perhaps it might be a case where, she could get some sponsors, have a location, have a facility and just start, to establish herself as a coach and, just to see, athletes that, she can continue with. I know she has, I don't remember the name right now, but yeah, just in that context in terms of, moving forward. So guys, we're very close to wrapping up and I'm just checking the chat for, final comments or one just a short call if somebody would like to call in at this time. So we're just checking in for, like final comments. So we'll just, I guess, talk somewhere around to see if persons have any final comments that they would like to share. But please remember to close the chat briefly and hit the like button. We can do better with the likes, guys. If persons pass through this evening and you just come and you don't like, hit the like button, man. Even if you're on your TV, find ways to just hit the like button. That does a lot, Hit the like button, hit the subscription button, and just support the space. That's a very easy way to support us by hitting that like button. And Altia is saying she can go back to Papine High as training grounds, okay? So that's Shanikie there. So we're just monitoring the chat for some final comments. And Ruran, I'm going to throw it over to you. Do you have any final comments you would like to share? All right, not hearing from Ruran just yet. I believe he will pop in when he's ready.
I'm jumping in. Sorry for just want to tell the guys that were here with us, just thank you for all the support and the comments and their perspective that they shared with us. It's really and truly appreciated, the support that they give us and the amount of knowledge that they share here. And we want to see you coming forward with us. So whenever we are on and live again, where we just want you to make sure you turn on your post notifications so we can keep this good thing going. So, all the best to you as well as we continue to follow this, noble sport of athletics and, all the other stuff that we do here on this platform.
Awesomeness, Ruran. Thank you so much for joining in and sharing and, really appreciate your perspective as well. And to all the persons in the chat, to persons who have already gone, I just want to thank you so much for, sharing and for sharing your voice, yes, in the chat there, and, for sharing your perspective on this matter. And thank you for maintaining this safe space. This is something that, we set out to do where everyone can share, regardless of, perspective. So even if that perspective is not what somebody else appreciates, we just want to keep it respectful and no labeling. This is not the space for that. We do not bash people either, not the space for that. So really appreciating you, just sharing and maintaining this safe space where everyone just feels valued, feels a sense of belonging, and you just want to come because this is the space where, you feel comfortable, you feel acknowledged, and that is what we want to continue to do. Oh, I'm seeing Altair there saying just like how Mr. Walcott left Stets and is at JC. All right, so we're going to call this one and just wrap this one up. And Altair is saying a pleasure being here as always, always. Awesome, Althea. Thank you. And it's a pleasure having you and everyone else here in the chat. And again, just tell a friend to tell another friend, to tell your colleague, you know, who you work with, you go to church. So Althea, tomorrow, please tell the congregation, hallelujah, hallelujah. And, you know, just share, guys, just share and, you know, let us keep, you know, growing together and we can only get bigger and better. You can imagine when we come down, touch down at Manchester and we say, Althea, come on with the years. So we are go for Chester, go watch 2D Cup or something like that, right, Althea? So so that's the kind of, you know, relationship that we want to build and to continue. So let's just keep it going and let's just keep this positivity going. I'm seeing that we have about 21 persons still here. So, and I believe we have about 13, 14 likes. So let us take this opportunity to do that. And before I go, you know, I always give you a little, you know, life lesson, something that we can take with us in terms of what we can apply to our everyday life. And, you know, given this context, you know, with Elaine and Shanikie, what I would say, you know, sometimes we need to ensure that when we're going into the unknown, we try to prepare ourselves as best as possible before venturing out. You know, you're going out to sea, and even though sometimes you have, you know, the lifeguard, guys, I tell you about the story time. I did share that story time, but let me see if I can just, you know, because I'm just sharing this, give you a summary. So one point, I went to a resort in Montego Bay. I cannot swim, all right, guys? They had a slide, and the slide ended, I guess, at the deepest point of the pool. And so I, recognizing that, I know that I would not be able to land on my 2 feet, right? And so I saw the lifeguard who said, you know what? I'll be standing here, so I will just catch you before you fall into that pool. Oh my Lord. You see, when I came down and around that thing and reached to it, no lifeguard present. And I did not have a backup plan because I prepared and I trusted somebody who just was not there, right? And so I went under the water. So like I was there under the water and I was saying to myself, I can't open my mouth because if I open my mouth, so in my mind, you know, I'm quickly trying to problem solve because I know this is quick and the time is going. So I decided not to. So I used my hands and I started like beating the water. And that's when the lifeguard, you know, jumped in and pulled me up and out of the water. And I'm like, and I said to him, like, you can't do that. Like, you told me that you were going to go there, because if he had not given me that, you know, level of confidence, I would not go there because, you know, I am not able to do that. Right. And so, you know, in this context, just saying, you know, some of us, we go into situations where we are thrown out into the deep and we do not have a solid plan. So, you know, measure the situations, look at all the different possibilities before going into a situation, because that is definitely important. And that might be a context here where persons went in to a context, like a negotiation, not having a full understanding of the process and, you know, how what works. So always have a plan, you know, in terms of things that you're going in, especially when you're not so knowledgeable or confident, or you don't have the expertise to navigate certain situations. So even if you ask somebody else, one person, try ask somebody else. So in my case, I could perhaps have asked a colleague to say, you know what, stand up here. So in essence, would have more than likely have two persons waiting for me. So in the event one is not there, my God, the other one perhaps would be there, you know. So at least, you know, try to have that backup plan. All right. So let me quickly take one last look in the chat. Come learn more about net. Altia, believe it or not, I used to play netball, you know. I love netball. Yes, I love netball. My fave. I love netball. I used to play wing attack or goal attack. Those are my positions. So I love netball. I am a netballer. Okay. Uh, check out the levels of the water. True. Into that slide. And there you go. So thanks everyone. And again, you know, in everything, there's a life lesson. Hit the like button. Do not leave without giving this, you know, live a like. We can do a little bit better on the like, but thank you so much. And, you know, for being in this space. Thank you so much, you know, for sharing. And remember to exercise self-care. Take care of you. But I'm not, is it the school netball, Altia? Is it broadcasted, like which channel is bringing that? So let me just wait on Altia's comment here before closing out. Is it shown on TV? So just waiting on Altia there to share some more in the chat. Let me just refresh this, because this could be a context. But guys, also, if you have not yet turned on your post notification, you need to hit that. You need to hit that, you know, bell and select all. So Altia is saying, okay, you don't know. But I'll definitely check that out, Altia. Okay, and you will check on your end as well. Thank you. So we can definitely talk about that. But for sure, I'm a netball person. I'm a netball person. Yeah, for sure. So thanks for sharing that out there, and would definitely check that out to see how that is going, because sometimes some of these sports are not necessarily, shown or promoted the way we would want to see it. So yes, you see football, but because perhaps I think netball is not so big, but I love netball. Right. All right, thank you so much, and remember to exercise self-care. Ensure that you're taking care of yourself. Do whatever you need to. So in that case, if it means just away from the phone for a few minutes, or watching a movie without interruptions, if it means going for a walk, if it means spiritually, praying and connecting with God, do whatever you need to take care of you. All right. And so, there are different types of self-care. So we have psychological, physical self-care, spiritual self-care. And so, but at some point we need to have that balance. It might not be a perfect balance, but that, imperfect balance. But, do what you need to take care of you. For sure, Altia, for a country rank. Yeah, for sure. All right, again, thank you so much. So I'm just going to play out the rest of this slide and then wrap up this one. So blessings and love, everyone. And remember, do not leave without hitting the like button. Yes, and the subscription button. Yes, and ensure that your post notification is turned on. Just tap the bell and select all. And share with friends and family members, and tell them to hit the subscription button. There's a program here for everyone, I believe, at this point. We do so much, not just sports, but we do other programs as well. So stay tuned and I will see you in the next live. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel so that you can listen to the different voices in education. Stay tuned.